Refugee by Gratz. Joseph. Born France, 1940. 1 year, 1 month, and 10 days from home. Gunfire crackled. An artillery shell whistled overhead and hit with a sudden shuddering tomb somewhere nearby. Refugee cried and Joseph's mother hugged her close. Joseph peeked out the window. They were hiding in a tiny schoolhouse in a village called Vornay, somewhere south of Bourges, in France. The desks were all in perfect rows, and a long-forgotten assignment was still written on a chalkboard. It was dark outside, and the trees surrounding the schoolhouse made it even darker. That was good. It helped them hide. But it also made shooting German storm troopers harder. Joseph ducked back down inside, and his eyes fell on a map of Europe on the wall. The various countries shaded different colors. How wrong that map was now, just a year after he and his family had come to France as refugees. Germany had absorbed Austria and conquered Poland and Czechoslovakia. Soon after, Holland and Belgium and Denmark had fallen to Hitler, and the Nazis occupied the northern half of France, including Paris. All of France had surrendered, but there were still pockets of free France, forces reciting the Nazis throughout the countryside. The countryside where Joseph and his family were now, the only refugees from St. Louis who were still safe. Joseph realized were the ones who had made it to Great Britain, though word was that Hitler was going to try to cross the English Channel any day now. Joseph and his mother and sister were trying to get to Switzerland in the hope that the Swiss would give them refuge. They had made it to this far traveling by night, sleeping in the hay barns and out in the fields under the stars. But the Nazis had finally caught up to them. A light played across the window above him, and Joseph chanced a look out again. Stormtroopers headed toward the school. "They're coming," Joseph told his mother. "We have to go." His mother picked up Ruthie and headed for the door, but Joseph stopped her. There was only one door to the schoolhouse, and the Nazis would be using it. "No, this way," he said. Joseph kept low as he scurried to the back wall of the classroom. There was a window there. They could climb out and run it for the woods. He tried the handle. It was stuck. Joseph looked over his shoulder, but he could see the beam of flashlight in the hall outside, could hear the familiar German language of his homeland. They had to get out of here. Joseph threw his elbow against the glass and it shattered. That brought a cry from the hallway. Joseph knocked the rest of the glass out of the window in a panic. He felt his coat sleeve rip, felt something cold and sharp against his skin, but he didn't have time to think about that. He helped his mother out first, then handed Ruthie out of her window. Through the window. "Go, go," Joseph said, before he was even all the way out of the window, and his mother picked up Ruthie and ran for the darkness of the wood. None of them carried suitcases anymore. Those had been left behind long ago, but they all still wore their coats, even though it was the height of summer. His mother had insisted. The only thing any of them still carried was Bitsy, the little stuffed bunny Rufie had never parted with. It was tucked tightly under Rufie's arm. Joseph leaped down from the window, stumbled, got back up, and ran. There, the beam of the flashlight found him. A pistol cracked. A bullet blew the bark off the tree less than a meter away from him. Joseph stumbled again in panic, righted himself and keep running behind him. Why, thought Joseph, why bother hunting us down and taking us back to prison? If the Nazis want us Jewish gone so badly, why don't they just let us keep going? One of the soldiers came toward them with a gun. No, wait, Joseph's mother cried. I have money, Reichsmarks, French francs. She fumbled inside her shirt, where she kept her money hidden. The bills fluttered to the ground. The soldier moved the bills around with his feet and made a tisking sound. It's not enough, I'm afraid. Joseph's heart sank at the chance she might really be able to buy their way out. Joseph's mother became hysterical. Wait, I have jewelry, diamonds. She yanked at Rufie's coat, pulling it off over her head. Mama, what are you doing? Rufie cried. Joseph's mother ripped at the seams the way his father had when he'd rent his garments for old Professor Wheeler on the ship. From Rufie's coat, she pulled something that glittered in the light of the electric torches. Earrings. The diamond earrings Joseph's father had bought her for their anniversaries one year. Joseph remembered Papa giving them to her, remembered the smile on Mama's face, the light in her eyes, both long gone now. Mama had sewn her earrings into the lining of Rufie's coat. That was why she had never let Rufie take it off. The soldier took the earrings from Joseph's mother and examined them in the light. Joseph held his breath. Maybe they would let his mother buy their way out of this after all. Everything I was able to keep, his mother said. It's all yours. Just please let us go. These are very nice, the soldier said, but I think there is only enough here to buy freedom for one of your children. But that's all I have left, Mama said. The soldier looked at her expectantly. At first, Joseph didn't understand what she wanted. They didn't have anything else to give him. But then the Nazi pulled Joseph and Rufie to him and turned them around for Mama to see. And that's when Joseph understood. The Nazi didn't care how much money they had, how many jewels. It wasn't about that. They were playing with them. This was another game, like a cat playing with a mouse before it ate it. I think there is only enough here to buy freedom for one of your children. One of Rachel and Dal's children would go free, and one of the children would go into the camps. The Nazi soldier smiled at Joseph's mother. You choose. Isabel. Miami Beach, Florida, 1994. Here in this boat that had been her home for 4 days and 4 nights. Isabel's little brother was born. Not right away. First had come her mother's frantic pushing to bring the baby into the world, while the rest of them paddled. All but Sonora Castle, who sat on the bench next to Miami, holding her hand and talking her through it. Behind them, the Coast Guard had finished picking up Isabel's grandfather and was headed their way, lights flashing. Their little blue boat was close to the shore. The waves around them were breaking with white caps. Isabel could see people dancing on the beach, but they weren't close enough, weren't going to make it. That's when Miami's cries had mixed with Amara's yell to swim for it, and Lewis and Amara hopped over the side, half swimming, half tumbling, toward shore. No way, Isabel cried. Her mother couldn't swim for the beach. Not like this. They had to paddle in, or her mother would never make it to the U.S. Isabel and Poppy and Sonora Castle rowed as hard as they could, but the Coast Guard ship was faster. It was going to catch them. Go, Isabel's mother told her husband between pants. If you're caught, they'll send you back. No, Poppy said. Go, Mommy said again. If I'm caught, they'll just send me back to Cuba. Go and take Isabel. You can send money like you always planned. No, Isabel cried, and amazingly her father agreed. Never, he insisted. I need you, Teresa, you and Isabel and little Mariano. Isabel's mother sobbed at the name, and tears sprang to Isabel's eyes too. Like the boat, they had never settled on a name for the baby. Not until now. Naming the baby after Little was perfect way to remember him, no matter where they were. But they'll send us back, Mommy sobbed. Then we'll go back, Poppy said, together. He put his forehead onto his wife's temple and held her hand, taking Sonora Castle's place as Mommy made her last push. The Coast Guard ship bounced in the waves. It was almost on top of them. It's time, Sonora Castle said. We have to swim it. Now. No, please, Isabel begged, paddling helplessly against the tide, tears running down her face. They were so close. But Sonora Castle was already helping his wife over the side into the water. They were abandoning ship. Isabel's mother cried out louder than before, but Poppy was with her. He would take care of her. All that mattered now was rowing as hard as Isabel could. She was her mother's last hope. Take Isabel with you, she heard her mother say between pushes. But Isabel wasn't worried. She knew her father wouldn't listen, that he would never leave. Neither of them would. They were a family. They would be together forever. But then suddenly arms were picking her up, lifting her over the side. Say goodbye to Fiddle, Sonora Castle said. He was the one Mommy had been talking to. He had come back, and he was the one lifting Isabel out of the boat into the water. No, Isabel cried. You saved my life once. Now let me save yours, Sonora Castle told her. Isabel didn't listen. She kicked and screamed, trying to get free. She didn't want to go to the States if it meant leaving her family behind. But Sonora Castle was too strong. He tossed her into the water, and she sank under the waves in a tangle of arms and legs and bubbles before quickly hitting bottom. Isabel found her footing and pushed herself back up out of the water. It was chest deep, and the waves that slid her toward shore lifted her up and set her down again on the sand. Ivan's cap had come off her head in her splashdown, and she snatched it up before it disappeared in the surf. Then she grabbed the side of the boat and to climb back in. Sonora Castle's arm went around her waist and pulled her away. No, Isabel cried. I won't leave them. Hush, we're going anywhere, Sonora Castle said. Help us pull the boat to shore. Isabel looked around, and for the first time she saw Sonora Castle was still there, and Lewis and Amara were there too. They all stood waist deep in the water around the boat. They had come back. They all found somewhere to grab on the boat and pull, churning up the sand at their feet. Isabel sobbed with relief and grabbed hold. It was harder for her to pull when the waves kept lifting her, but the sight of the Coast Guard boat bearing down on them helped motivate her. So did the cheering. The other refugees on the Coast Guard ship where the Coast Guard boat couldn't go. The ship had cut lights and was backing out to sea. On the rear of the boat, among the waving, cheering refugees, was Isabel's grandfather. Isabel held the screaming baby up high for him to see, and Little fell to his knees, hands clasped to his chest. Then the engines roared, the sea churned, and the Coast Guard ship disappeared out to sea. The Castello and Fernandez families helped each other up onto the sandy beach, and their wet feet became dry feet. Senor Castello fell to his knees and kissed the ground. They had made it to the States, to freedom, still in a dream. Isabel wobbled up the sand toward the flashing lights and thumping music and dancing people. She stepped into the light, and the music stopped and everyone turned to stare. Then suddenly people were running to help her and her family. A tan young woman in a bikini dropped into the sand beside Isabel. "Oh my God, Chiquita," she said in Spanish. "Did you just come off the boat? Are you Cuban?" "Yes," Isabel said. She was trembling, but she clung to Mariano like she would never let him go. "I'm from Cuba," Isabel said, "but my little brother was born here. He's an American, and soon I will be too."